I have heard that you train people to read 100 books in 1 year. So how is it practically actually possible? I am very curious.
Are we busy in accomplishment or are we busy in activity is what we need to look at.
So is this program of yours, My 25th Hour, chargeable or free? What is it?
All courses under knowledge and karma are absolutely free. Everything
Is in the mind.
outside is a representation inside, where we teach people how to influence others and how to save themselves from undue influence.
Wow.
Anything that is single color in nature is monochromic.
Correct.
Scientific word is monochromic.
Correct.
Anything that is monochromic becomes monotonous. Anything that is monotonous becomes boring.
Correct.
And anything that is boring puts us to sleep. Children are not going to listen to you, but one thing they will definitely do, children will copy you.
हेलो दोस्तों, आज हमारे जो गेस्ट स्पीकर है वो है मिस्टर पवन भट्टद। वेलकम पवन सर टू आवर पॉडकास्ट।
Thank you, Dinesh. Thank you for calling me here.
दोस्तों, पवन जो सर है वो माइंड मैप एक्सपर्ट है। स्पीड रीडिंग, मेमोरी ट्रेनिंग, प्रोडक्टिविटी ट्रेनिंग और बहुत सारे ट्रेनिंग करते हैं। तो सिंस लास्ट 11 years ही इज इन द फील्ड ऑफ ट्रेनिंग। एज ही इज अ सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियर, initial career he was into job for almost 10 to 11 years, almost a decade into job. We'll come to know कि job से transition कैसा हुआ. Very soon we'll come on that. So Pavan sir, coming to you, I all know you teach mind training, let's say mind maps, speed reading, and what else? I think productivity training, memory training, so many things. So what actually do you do?
See, Dinesh, first of all, thank you for calling me here.
Okay.
If you look into my training programs that I have done over the past decade or so, all these things, speed reading, memory, mind maps, productivity, NLP, influence, that I have taught, they are all system-based and method-based training.
Correct.
But if you really ask me what is it that I primarily do, I would say I only give people clarity of thought.
Okay.
That's what I give.
Correct.
When I teach speed reading, it is like, people have already read fast, that one night before the exam, everybody has done speed reading.
Speed reading.
I just give them the clarity of thought that they have done it, and I help them figure out how they have done it, so they can now do it conscious.
Correct.
When I say memory, we have all memorized a lot. A child may say that I cannot remember answers, but send him to a movie. When he comes back, he remembers the entire movie. So memory is not the problem, the content is the problem.
Wow.
So likewise, there are so many domains in our day-to-day living जहाँ पर मैं clarity of thought देता हूँ. That's what I primarily work on.
Okay.
And of course, I choose topics which have direct impact in our work, in our relationships, in our studies, in whatever we do, by creating time, by making things easier, efficient. That's primarily what I do. Clarity of thought is the fundamental of everything that I teach.
Superb. Pavan, there are as we know that initial 10 to 11 years you're into job. So what made you transition from job to training business? Because this is a huge transition. So how was the transition?
See, what had happened, Dinesh, is first of all, I was always explorative.
Okay.
I always wanted to keep exploring new things. I am like that. So when I was working in the IT domain, for the first few years I worked in a small company, I worked in a large multinational, I worked in a medium-sized company. Then I started my own company. I worked in UK for a few months. Then I came back, started my company. I got a merger. I was the head of India operations in the merged entity. So I had done all of that, and there was a point where it was becoming obsolete, and I thought it is time to do something different.
Okay.
And just then I was at a parenting workshop. It was a seminar that I had attended, and there I got to know this idea of mind map.
Okay.
And I realized it was what I was naturally doing. If I would stand for a meeting and if I would be heading the meeting, I cannot stand in front of the whiteboard unless I have 3 color markers in my hand.
Correct.
I wouldn't put bullet points. I would always put things here and there all around the board.
Okay.
And then when I learned mind maps, I thought, okay, this is what I naturally do. Now, what had happened is, before I came into IT, the early days, I was also teaching. I was teaching technical languages, C, C++, Java, etc.
Okay.
And when I thought I am done with IT, I thought I'll go back to teaching.
Okay.
Technical teaching again. But when I actually started technically teaching, it so happened that I felt it is going backwards. It didn't kind of interest me as much as it used to interest me in the early days of my career. And meanwhile, I happened to be in this mind mapping seminar I got to know, in parenting seminar where I got to know of mind mapping. And I thought, okay, this is something that I can teach.
Correct.
If this way of actually taking notes, doing presentations is actually a known way and a wonderful way, which I was naturally doing, I didn't know it is called mind map.
Correct.
So I thought, let me dig more into this, and probably this can be a wonderful thing that I can pass on to the world. And then I looked for who is the founder of Mind Maps, who is teaching it. I went on, took my trainings, and then started doing. So this is how I transitioned into the training domain. It was kind of a natural transition. It wasn't a planned transition really.
Correct. Superb. There are very few people actually who think that I will transition and they do it, and you are one of them. Really superb. Pavan, I have heard that you train people to read 100 books in 1 year. So how is it practically actually possible? I am very curious because I also read, so I don't read so many books a year. I am very curious how to read 100 books in a year.
See, let me first be dead honest with you.
Okay.
100 books in a year is a wonderful tagline.
Correct.
Okay. It is still technically, practically, definitely, literally possible.
Correct.
And I'll give you the formula for that if you want.
Okay.
However, the idea there is not to count the number of books that people have read. The idea is to move people who are not reading into reading, people who are already reading into bettering their reading, people who are already voracious readers, making them, enabling them to read more and create time for other things also.
Correct.
So those who are too much into a lot of things but not reading, bringing them into reading. And then there are those who are so much into reading that they do nothing else, creating time for them outside of reading. So it's a holistic thing. Now, to your question, is 100 books really even possible? See, if the average reading speed of a person is around 200 words per minute, 150 to 200 words. If you take a few literate people across the world and ask them to read for a minute, count the number of words they have read, the average will come out to 150 to 200 words per minute.
Correct.
That is where we all kind of stand when we begin with. There are a few people whose job involves a lot of reading, like researchers, editors of newspapers, professors who have to read in a lot. So anybody whose job naturally involves a lot, they naturally develop speed reading. They don't need to learn speed reading really. And they read somewhere around 600, 700 words per minute.
Oh, okay.
However, understanding how it works, how speed reading works, and applying those simple methods into it, and consciously practicing just for 4 to 5 days can take your speed straight to 1000 words per minute.
Wow.
And beyond. The world record is 4251 words per minute. And again, I was lucky enough that I got to learn from the coach of that world record holder. Now forget 4000 words, forget 1000 words. Even if you are able to move from, if you take the average, 200 words here, 1000 words there, but if you take the average, even if you get to 600 words per minute, which is definitely possible within a 1 or 2 hours of training. Then you are talking about reading approximately 2 pages per minute.
Correct.
See, if I tell you, if you take a regular book, it has 30 lines on a book, average 10 words per line. So that's 300 words per page.
Perfect.
2 pages is 600 words. So you are already reading 2 pages per minute.
Correct.
Now, an average self-help book would be 200 pages. Some are small, some are big. If you take the average, it is 200 pages. Okay. So if you read 2 pages per minute, you read 200 pages in 100 minutes. So technically you can have a book for lunch and a book for dinner. However, even if that is not what you want to do, if you don't want to spend that much time in a day, if a person can commit 30 minutes, half an hour a day for his own development, his or her own development. And I am not even saying, read every day, every year. Even for 1 year if you do it. 30 minutes per day, then you'll finish that book in approximately 3 days.
Correct.
Because it takes 100 minutes to finish the book. So, 2 books in a week. So if you can read 2 books in a week, you have 52 weeks in a year. 2 weeks you can take a holiday, Christmas, Diwali, Eid, whatever you celebrate. You are still left with 50 weeks multiplied by 2 books is 100 books. So this is a very simple, logical, practical, definitive calculation. 30 minutes you give to yourself and read the right kind of books. Reading 100 books in a year is definitely possible. It is not just a punchline.
But actually, if you actually ask, there are people are so busy. You ask about kids or working professionals or entrepreneurs. They are so busy that taking out 30 minutes is also difficult. So can you give us some tips on how to take out 30 minutes also?
See, this is very interesting, Are we busy in accomplishment or are we busy in activity? Is what we need to look at.
Correct.
Okay. I would rarely find a person who is really busy in accomplishment and doesn't have time. If you have time for reels, you have time for WhatsApp, you have time to manage 100 groups there, you have time for social media, you have time for playing games, And I am not saying stop all this. Okay, I'm just saying prioritize reading for 30 minutes and still do all of this.
Correct.
Now here is the beauty of reading, Dinesh. Whatever your challenge in life is, okay, there are people who have done enough research, lifelong research on that one thing. If a challenge is relationships, there are people who have researched on relationships lifelong, and they have written. These people have been kind enough to put all their lifelong research or a couple of decades long research in a book.
Correct.
And give it ready made for us. So what took them an entire life is ready on a platter for us.
Correct.
So we just have to consume it. So if your problem is relationships, if your problem is how to study, if your problem is how to manage your money, if your problem is how to take care of your health, if your problem is how to manage your team in your office, if your problem is whatever your problem is, there are books out there to help you.
Correct.
Okay. Likewise, if your problem is how do I find half an hour, there is a book out there to help with that also. There are so many wonderful books on time management, self-management, attention management. So one of my trainings is called My 25th Hour.
Wow. Okay.
The idea is especially for those people who think 24 hours are not enough. I am so busy, 24 hours are not enough. Some people want that extra hour to exercise, some people want it to read, some people want it to simply sleep more, some people want it for whatever, to spend time with their children. But that extra hour, if you can extract from this seed, the earth is not going to rotate slower for you. It will rotate in 24 hours only, right? So how do you extract 24 hours from where you are allowing that seepage?
Okay.
If you can extract that extra hour from there, that you can use for reading.
Correct.
So one of my trainings is simply around that. And you know what? I see this, when I came to the studio, I saw this wonderful board here, focus. Now what is focus? Focus is not allowing your attention to go here and there.
Correct.
Attention, which generally is like a monkey wanting to jump everywhere.
Correct.
And focus is taming that monkey to be just on one thing.
Correct. Perfect.
So maximum time that we actually waste in our day is in doing something 100 times in our head before you do it once in reality.
Okay.
One small thing that you want to do, you will actually in your imagination do it 5 times.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. If you can save time from that. Now this, your mind is wandering there all the time because your mind is not sure that you will do it when the time is right. So your mind is continuously reminding you.
Acha.
If you have a system that can put these things in place, that is what My 25th Hour does.
Okay.
Then automatically your mind stops reminding you of wrong things at the wrong time and you are able to do the right thing at the right time. Once that happens, time is created. Now this 30 minutes can be used for reading, for exercise, for whatever you are falling short of in life. But the bottom line is reading. There are wonderful books out there and you have solutions out there.
So is this program of yours, My 25th Hour, chargeable or free? What is it?
All courses under Knowledge and Karma are absolutely free.
Free?
Absolutely free, not just the introductory sessions.
Okay.
The
So
entire course.
why free? A big question from my side. Why free?
See, there are two reasons to it. Before the pandemic, COVID, I was only doing this one program called Renewal, which was a combination of speed reading, memory, mind maps. And we had just transitioned into also doing My 25th Hour and NLP that time. We had just started and then COVID came in. Now what used to happen is, at that time this program was charged at $15,000, $20,000, about $300 to $400 per person. Now, and the typical model that the entire training industry uses, you would call people for an introductory session, would give them the entire idea of what the course is, and then we'd do the we'll ask them to buy the main course. And I used to see a lot of people coming, I want to learn this, but time is a challenge. I want to learn this, but I cannot pay so much. I want to learn this, but I cannot travel all the way there where you are conducting. It was not online those days.
Okay.
So when COVID happened, it just struck to me that, see, now anyways I am sitting at home. I cannot travel and conduct sessions. It was very clear for the next 1 year that's not happening. And I had a big database of people who wanted to learn, who had come for the intro session but didn't sign up for the main course for whatever reasons.
Correct.
A lot of them signed up, but there were a few who didn't sign up. I thought these people wanted to learn. Anyways, I have nothing to do. They have nothing to do sitting at home. Let's launch the course online. At least I'll practice doing online. That's how it started.
Correct.
So I called in those people that I'm conducting this course online. You can join in. And I was expecting 70, 80, 100 people would join. To my surprise, we did back-to-back batches of 800, 1,000, 800, 1,000 people for almost 2 months.
Okay.
Every weekend I was doing this. Probably 10, 20,000 people actually learned this just in the pandemic time.
Correct.
The peak pandemic time. And the kind of reaction I was getting from these people, the kind of messages that were flowing in, the kind of thoughts that were flowing in, that this changed in my life, that changed in my life. Some people directly benefit because although I talk of speed reading, there is a lot of talk on, how do you keep your habits in place, how do you keep your mind in place, because reading is a habit and all that. So they benefited from that. Some of them didn't directly benefit from the course, but they started reading and benefited from the books.
Correct.
And then they told me, because of you, I read this book and then I got this benefit. And it kind of happened to me that, God has been graceful. I was in IT for so many years. I had made my money. Training also I had made my money. And why not just keep these courses open and free for all?
Super.
So for a few days, I just announced that next 6 months, all my courses will be free.
Achha.
Come and take as much benefit as you can. I thought once the pandemic is over, I'll start going offline again. And if I ever do an offline course, it will be charged, of course. But online courses, I thought I'll continue to keep free. I got a lot of satisfaction from it.
Correct.
And then I thought, chalo yaar, maza bhi aa raha hai, satisfaction bhi aa raha hai. Some people donate money, some people donate blankets, some people donate food. I have this to donate, I'll donate this. And I thought, chalo, yahan se paisa kamao aur baad mein paisa donate karo. Isse acha ye donate karo.
Super, good mindset.
I saved my own energy actually. So that was the high level idea of making it for free.
Super. Pavan, we have also heard that you are professionally trained in NLP, which is Neuro-Linguistic Programming. So can you explain a bit about NLP and how is it useful for people?
Okay, see, NLP primarily is a study of what works.
Okay.
Like many other research that happens out there, it starts with a hypothesis. This might be working, and then they do research and find whether it works or not. NLP is a wonderful domain that was started in the reverse manner. They would observe a few people who are able to do something. For example, they'll go to a military center and see that 20 people out of 100 are able to shoot at the target dot properly, at the bullseye properly. What is it that these 20 people are doing differently from the other 80, while the training is same to all of them?
Correct.
So they would study that.
Okay.
And they will find that and train these 80 people.
Okay.
And everybody is able to it.
Achha.
Or they would go to some sales agents of insurance companies. They all get the same training, same material, same product they are selling. 2 people are able to sell as much as the other 20 people.
Okay.
What is it that these 2 people are doing differently? Then they would study their body language, their thought patterns, the words that they are using, the way they enter the meeting, the way they exit the meeting, the way they hold their pen, the way they open the papers. Everything is studied.
Okay.
And a pattern is created. And this pattern is taught, and all of a sudden everybody is creating results.
Wow.
So NLP started with the idea of learning what works. And likewise a lot of things. Then they started researching in parenting, they started researching in people management, how a boss communicates with his employees, how a politician communicates with the masses. They started doing a lot of research in different domains. And a few fundamental things that can be useful to everybody started coming out of it.
Correct.
Okay. Like how do you be in rapport with people, how do you get rid of your phobias, your fears. And the best part of NLP is it is all systems and technical.
Correct.
There is no, I'll just speak loudly and motivate you and you'll get motivated. That's not in NLP. NLP tells you, okay, you follow this process, this happens.
Okay.
There have been people who, I'll give you an example. There was this lady who couldn't bear the smell of ghee when it is being prepared.
Okay.
To the extent that the parents can only prepare ghee at home when they know that she is out for the entire day.
Achha.
Forget the preparation of ghee, that lingering smell later also she couldn't bear.
Okay.
One small process of just 4 minutes on her, and next day she prepares ghee herself.
Okay, great.
Everything
Is in
outside is a representation inside.
Okay, correct.
For example, you know Pavan, I know Dinesh. Which means I am in your mind somewhere, you are in my mind somewhere.
Correct, agree.
But reality is I am sitting here, you are sitting there.
Correct.
What is there in my mind there? It is a representation.
Representation.
And this representation is a set of parameters.
Okay.
You change the parameter, you change how you feel about the person. You change the parameter, how you change about the food. There are so many food items that we know are harmful for us, but we cannot resist. Or we know they are useful for us, but we cannot, because we don't like the taste. We cannot eat it.
Correct.
You can change how you feel about it by just doing a few shifts in your imagination.
Wow.
Likewise, there are a lot of things in NLP that can help a lot of people. I think everybody who is listening to this should definitely learn NLP. It's a wonderful thing. It doesn't take a lot of time, but basic things that you get out of there are just awesome.
Super.
Primarily, I'll tell you, it is how you speak with yourself and how you speak with others. What is the language that we speak with each other? And NLP believes that all the communication that we do is always with ourselves. We don't really communicate with others.
Okay.
We communicate with the image that we carry about them in our mind.
Correct.
Tomorrow, if that person's designation changes, tomorrow if you become the president of India, how I will communicate with you is very different automatically.
Correct.
So I'm not actually communicating with you. I'm communicating with the image I have.
Image you have of mind.
Which means I'm communicating with myself. And once that is sorted, a lot of communication gets sorted.
Super. Very well explained, Pavan. Super. Yeah. Pavan, you also have a company along with Knowledge and Karma, which is called as Pavan Bhattad Institute of Thinking. So can you explain what is this company all about?
The way it started was this company I had established early days of my training. This was like a decade ago almost.
Okay.
The way it started was in the career of IT. I had heard multiple people telling me, use your head.
Achha.
I had people telling me, think out of the box. I had people telling me, do things differently, create some innovations and this and that, And I realized everybody's talking about thinking here, but nobody's teaching thinking. And if you look at what is the fundamental that makes human beings far more advanced than all the species out there, somewhere it is our thinking. Our ability to emote, our ability to create, our ability to imagine, our ability to daydream, it's all about thinking, right?
Correct.
Nobody's teaching thinking though.
Okay.
We want people to be critical in thinking, but nobody's teaching critical thinking those days, So I thought there needs to be somebody who specializes in teaching thinking.
Super.
Which is the coremost thing to our existence. I mean, without thinking, we are a vegetable.
Correct.
So I wanted to do research on thinking and take different forms of thinking: critical thinking, innovative thinking, compassionate thinking. There are so many types of thinking that are involved, and I wanted to take these to people. So that's what I wanted to do, and hence I started this Institute of Thinking, which happens to be Asia's only institute specialized in thinking.
Who teaches thinking, because thinking is the starting point, because thinking से हमारे जो thoughts निकलते हैं, thoughts से emotions आते हैं, emotions से हम action लेते हैं और action से आता है result.
Correct.
So beginning point, or we can call the root cause.
Correct.
If someone is getting result, root cause is thinking. If someone is not getting results,
the root cause
is thinking. So you are actually working on the root cause.
Absolutely.
Superb. Good to know that, Pavan. So you have any course related to this thinking?
We do have a couple of courses. We have a course on creative thinking.
Okay.
And we have a course on critical thinking also. We also have a course called Weapons and Shields of Influence, which is not directly on thinking, but it is a good derivation of thinking, where we teach people how to influence others and how to save themselves from undue influence.
Wow.
If you look at all the hell lot of marketing that is happening around, it's all created to influence influence minds to buy those products, to use those products, services, whatever. So how do you save yourself from undue influence, and still how do you influence? For the right reasons. We teach that in the Weapons and Shields of Influence course.
So that course is free?
All the courses in Knowledge and Karma.
So guys, till that time the course is free. Please subscribe to the course and go through the course and learn and change your life. Superb. So the link of this courses, we'll post it in the description of this video.
Yes.
So that will be easy for you to go to that course. And we are also aware that you have learned mind map from the founder of mind map, who is Tony Buzan. So can you tell us a bit about what is mind map?
First of all, those who don't know of mind maps, they come up with a lot of crazy questions to me. Can you read minds of people and this and that? I tell them, if I can read the mind of a person, I would probably be the next Nobel laureate around. Mind map is not about reading minds and all that. Basically, mind map is a technique. It's a mapping technique, which means mind map is not a mind tool. It is a pen and paper tool. First of all,
good one.
Mind map is a wonderful way which enables radiant thinking to come out on paper. Taking your notes, generating ideas, making your notes, then making presentations in a manner that can relate with people.
Correct.
We are human beings. We are not designed to see bullet lists. We are not designed to think in menu lists and bullet points and all that.
Correct.
That was the way computers started early days, with the limitations of graphics. Now those limitations are not there. But if you look at it, for example, if I ask you, would you like to stand in a queue? Nobody likes to stand in a queue. We are not designed to be linear.
Correct.
Okay? And nothing in nature is linear. Unfortunately, the way we write our notes, we write on the line, then we go one below the other. The way we think in bullet points, checklists, is not the natural way of thinking. What mind map done is, mind map brings our thinking back to this original way that human beings are designed to think, which is radiant. Everything in nature is radiant. The sun is radiant. Light goes in all directions.
Correct.
The trees are radiant. They grow upwards, downwards, sideways, everywhere. We human beings are radiant. First few years we grow like this. Next few years we grow like this. But jokes apart, this radiant thinking is what our mind also likes. If I tell you to think of one thing for 1 minute,
Correct.
in that 1 minute you will think of 100 other things apart from that one thing. Naturally, your mind will wander everywhere.
Correct.
Because it is designed to be radiant. Now we have two choices. We can feel bad about it, that I cannot think of one thing for a minute. Or we can say, okay, so what if my mind goes to 100 things? Let me see how I can utilize that as a power rather than feeling bad about it. Okay. So we utilize that as a power, and that is what a mind map does.
Okay.
It helps you generate crazy ideas. It helps you get more clarity if you are planning for an event or whatever. The misses are very less when you make it using a mind map. It helps you take and make notes if you are listening to a lecture, if you are reading a book. You can summarize an entire book in a single page, still with a lot of detail, with a mind map. In fact, I publish a calendar every year with some sample mind maps of books.
Okay, good one.
That calendar can also be shared with your audience. It's available on my website.
Okay.
So that's primarily what a mind map does. It's a wonderful tool for teaching children.
Okay.
See, I'll tell you one thing, anything that is single color in nature is monochromic.
Correct.
Scientific word is monochromic.
Correct.
Anything that is monochromic becomes monotonous. Anything that is monotonous becomes boring.
Correct.
And anything that is boring puts us to sleep.
Correct.
This is the
We
natural
don't do
cycle.
that thing. Correct.
Okay, we don't do that thing. Now look at it. All the notes that our children take in school are what? They are single color.
Single color.
So now you know why they sleep when they read.
Correct.
Because it's monochromic, monotonous, boring, hence they sleep.
Huh.
Now how much ever you bash them, don't sleep when you're studying, don't sleep when they're studying.
They will.
The content is like that. But if the notes were taken with colors and pictures.
Okay.
Okay. If we ask all these people who are watching this, do you remember what you wrote in your notebooks in school? Most of them won't remember. But ask them, do you remember what you did on the last page of the notebook? All of them would remember.
Correct.
Because that's the kind of crazy things we did. And that is how human memory works. We remember crazy things. We don't remember normal things. So if you could bring that craziness, that creativity, that stupidity, I would also call it, into your notes. So if you have colors, pictures, and connections, you naturally remember better, and that is precisely what a mind map enables.
Super.
So wonderful way to teach children at a younger age, wonderful way for thinking, and a wonderful way to make presentations. You can summarize a 20 to 30 slide presentation in a single slide.
Okay, great.
See, what happens is when people are watching a presentation, which is bullet points and 20, 30, 40 slides, and some people take a lot of pride. My deck is 50 slides, my deck is 80 slides. I don't know why they like it. When you are on the fourth slide, people forget the first slide. You go to the fifth slide, people forget the second slide. So they cannot make connections.
Okay.
When they cannot make connections, they cannot register. It doesn't burn into their memory. So they forget. Then the entire presentation goes for a toss. But on the mind map, when that much content in a beautifully presented manner and a human and a natural manner is presented on one slide.
Correct.
While I am talking of content of the fifth slide, the first slide is still there.
Correct.
So they can visually connect.
Correct.
And that is what a mind map does. Of course, you'll have to, people will have to learn what it is. Again,
there's a technique again.
Doesn't take more than 2 to 3 hours to learn, but saves you probably a few minutes every day.
On many parents want their kids to read books, but I'm sure parents have given up on this dream or desire of theirs that their kids should read. So can you give some tips how kids can start reading books? Forget about 100 books, at least 10 to 12 books a year.
This is a very interesting question, and I think I have answered these questions at least 1,000 times till now.
Wow.
Because in every seminar of mine, right from 10 years ago when I started, there is somebody who wants to come back and come on the stage and ask me this question.
Correct.
How do I make my child read? See, we have to understand one thing, and this is especially for all the parents here. Don't expect that children will listen to you. Human beings are not designed to take orders. If you want to give orders to somebody, you have to force them first, right? So children are not going to listen to you, but one thing they will definitely do, children will copy you.
Wow.
Okay? What you do, they will do. What they see you doing day in and day out is what they will want to do. I'll give a simple example. How many families, children brush their teeth in the morning? Almost every family. Why? Because their parents also brush teeth in the morning. They see them brush, so they also brush. Now everybody is told that you should brush twice a day. How many children really brush twice a day? Very less.
Very less.
Why? Primarily because they don't see their parents brushing twice a day.
Correct.
The school can bang their heads on this topic, but children will not because their parents don't.
Parents are not reading.
A simple example, just an analogy. Now if the parents are all day into the mobile phone, the child will become curious of the phone. What is there in this phone?
Correct.
right? The child is not going to become curious about those books lying in the bookshelf. People buy books for themselves, but they develop the bookshelf. They don't develop themselves. Self development के लाते और self development करते. So the child will read books when this parent is reading book, and there is a discussion about the book on the dinner tables.
Correct.
Not directly. Parents can be smart and do an indirect discussion. They can start about some story. This happened, that happened, and you know what happened then? Okay, tomorrow I'll tell you.
Okay.
But I read this in this book. You can build that curiosity.
Correct.
Okay.
Good
If anybody who watches TV serials, those soaps, TV soaps, they would know every day the TV soap ends with a curious thing.
Correct.
Forcing you to start the TV, whatever that time is. If it is 8 p.m. episode, 8 p.m. you will stop everything else. Why? Because that curiosity is created. So if you can build that curiosity among children, first you have to build that copy. They will not listen to you, they will copy it. So if you are reading, they will read. Then if there is a way to discuss it, if there is a way to have some healthy discussions around that book, now that becomes a culture.
Correct.
Okay. Culture has to be created. Commands cannot work.
Correct.
That's very important.
Culture has to be created.
A culture has to be created.
Correct. A reading culture should be there.
Correct.
In the family.
If 3 people in the family are reading and discussing it, the 4th person will feel left out if he is not reading. A human being doesn't like to feel left out.
Correct.
The human being will do everything to become a part of the group again.
Correct.
They'll naturally get into reading.
Correct.
No, hold on, Dinesh. We all use a lot of the mind, but there is one thing that I want to add here. You might have heard sentences like we use only 1% of our brain, we use only 1.5% of our brain.
Correct.
And if you ask a huge audience, they will all have a number to it. Somebody will also stand up and say Einstein used only 6% of his brain.
Correct.
And then people ask me, is that correct? So there is a glitch here. You cannot use 1% or 2% of the brain.
Correct.
If you go by the theory of evolution, everything that you use becomes stronger and larger.
Correct.
Everything that you don't use diminishes out. It eventually phases out.
Correct.
So if we used only 1% of the brain, we would be left with a small mushroom inside here. Right? So though people should not fall into these trappy sentences. We all use more than 100% of the brain. Hence the brain size is increasing. If we look at the size of the brain that of the corpses that were found over centuries, the size of the brain is actually increases, which means we are using it more. Okay? We are using the full potential as well.
Correct.
We are using it in a recursive manner to do the same thing again and again, and hence not progressing.
Okay.
If you do it a little bit differently, newer things, my fundamental message to people is keep learning, keep growing, evolve and liberate.
Super.
Right? So that evolution has to happen. When you do that, automatically you will use your brain. It's not like people don't use their brain as such.
Very well said, Pavan. So guys, I'm sure all of you have learned so much about mind mapping, about speed reading, about memory. Our mind is super powerful, and the only thing is, are we using it to the optimum level? Because he also trains people on productivity, which is most important if you want to get the maximum from this body. So thanks a lot, Pavan, for coming on our podcast. I'm sure all our audience have learned a lot. So guys, before leaving this video, please go and click the link of the free courses in the description, and don't just take those courses, attend those courses, get the knowledge and execute the knowledge, and then get the results or fulfill whatever dreams you have in your life. So thank you once again, Pavan, for coming on our podcast.
Thank you for calling me, Dinesh, and all the best to all your viewers. May your channel grow and may the viewers learn lot and lot.
Thank you.
Sure.